Welcome back to another episode of Duel Alliance with myself, Alicia Solomon, and Megan Hines as we discuss everything the challenge. We are back to discuss the World Championships on Paramount Plus, episode 7, and we're getting to the point where it's starting to get wrapped up. Like we getting to the end almost. And last week we've seen one of the quote unquote bigger players leave. And this week double back and was just like, yeah, one of you hoes gotta go. And it's looking like a little yellow skinned banana, but we're gonna get to it. Don't want to ruin it, but it kind of did. So yeah,
It's okay. We knew it was going to happen eventually. It just so happened to be this week.
thank God. I'm sorry for Justine though. Justine, sorry for your loss. I love you, but girl,
Yeah. I'm
please.
mad she had to catch a stray though, but it had to be him.
Yeah, yeah,
We come into this episode with Kellyanne and Tristan and Jody and Ben Ha discussing a partnership of sense, to not say one another's name and to flip the house, so that they can stake their claim on the game. We want to get the votes on their side and target the USA group because they all notice the cracks that they have between like Danny and Theo from last week, Sarah versus Bananas, and then also obviously Tori and Danny. So putting a fracture within the USA group even more would help them move on. And because they have some big teams that are somewhat threats, what a better way to try and get one of those teams out immediately.
yeah. Basically, return the favor. I mean, USA has been plotting along with Australia for the most part to start tearing down other people's alliances. And just because the USA is the USA, like literally it's personified, you can't get your shit together. Like, just can't get it together as a country, label, or a crew. So there you have the fracture in that team. And yeah, it's their downfall.
Yep. And Tori said that the USA group is a shit show, which we already knew, because they are working with the people in the game. Like Tori is only looking out for Jordan and Casey, and then obviously with Danny and Sarah working with the Australian group, that was not going to work out for the USA team as a whole. So it's been a shit show because that's just how the cookie crumbles. And Bananas praised Justine on letting him take the reins on their partnership. They gave themselves a pair name, which is Just Nanas. It was going to be Bustine, but they reneged
Yo,
on that one.
Bustine is crazy. And I'm glad she shut it down immediately because Bustine is crazy. Like, what? That is so bad. So bad.
Just Nanas is just like, okay, it's better than Bustine, but you know,
But still, they don't even need a name to like have a duo. It's just you two together. That's fine. That you can leave it at that.
yeah. But I do like how he has been, I don't different, I guess, in this partnership than what we've seen recently. Um, of how like he's communicated with Justine. His communication last season was shit, but he hasn't been goofing around a lot, which is helpful because I need somebody. If anybody was gonna be with Justine, I wouldn't have wanted to be Bananas because we know he is messy and at times in partnerships, but he hasn't done that towards her. So I at least appreciate that part, and there's a good little camaraderie they have with one another.
Yeah, I feel like he just doesn't know Justine, so he's not gonna show his ass to her, essentially, because they're trying to win money together. With Nani, it's familiarity, it's 11 years of knowing each other, playing a game with each other, like they're family at that point. So that's why he got away with what he did with, playing with Nani rather than Justine.
Yeah. And Danny said he wasn't feeling well, that he wasn't himself, with his lines being a bit shaken. And he said that Ben was a target. And he said Ben was no longer a friend of his. Meanwhile, Ben said he couldn't trust or work with Danny and Sarah, and is only focused on keeping him and Casey together and making it to the end. And he also sensed that there was something wrong with his body, that he wasn't feeling fully 100% himself.
I mean, they didn't really get into it this episode, so I don't have anything to expound on that. But yeah, I mean, literally, Ben sat there, said that he'll have Danny's back, and then the next minute he threw them under the bus. So I wasn't surprised that none of them wanted to fuck with each other anymore.
Yeah. Because even when Danny put out the receipts last week, I'm like, listen. And even after the fact, after they finished even filming the show, Ben was still being weird when they were out in public. So Ben is not a friend that someone would need. So and then Amber was in the playing Dr. Phil between Theo and Kaz to be able to form some semblance of a friendship since they haven't spoken to each other in 2 years. I'm just mad that we get Theo back, and part of his storyline is him trying to be friends with his ex. I don't like.
I
It's
mean,
just bro.
I wasn't one of the ones who was like shouting and ranting that he should be back. Like I know he was protesting for himself to come back. I mean, I wasn't right there behind him, but I wasn't mad at it. Now, we have another storyline like 2.0 with Jordan and Tori with another relationship, and Cass isn't bringing anything. He's not bringing anything. Like that whole scene was just dry, unnecessary, and could have been left on the cutting room floor in the editing room. Honestly, like it's not needed.
Yeah, just like how last week he was complaining about how his flip off of the inflatable wasn't shown. You haven't given us anything that can be shown of substance. So it is what it is. Then we go to the daily challenge, and TJ says that the Legends have the day off, so it's an MVP challenge, and it's called Tunnel Time, where the MVP partner must navigate their way with a glow stick through a tunnel under the castle of Good Hope and count the flags of each country on the walls. They will need to return to their respective boards and figure out the equation that they need to configure to get a code to unlock their legend partner. And once their partner is unlocked, they must race to ring a bell to stop their time because there is a 45-minute time limit so that they can complete this. And if they don't, time will run out. The fastest team will win, while the slowest team will go straight to the arena. And math is hard.
If you can't count, sure, it's hard. I, like someone asked what was 6 times 7, and I was like, y'all don't got math over there. Like oh, 6 times 7,
Listen,
it's not even like it's like 785,000 times. Like 7 times 6. All right.
yeah. Kaz just that just blew me. He's been getting ate up over that. But it he would we had Ben Hot and Sarah go against each other, and they went down the tunnel. There are roaches, and I'm like disgusted. I was disgusted seeing them roaches down there, but obviously it's underground. But Sarah also didn't end up helping Ben Hot a bit with trying to figure out those flags. They both made it out. Sarah unlocked Theo first, and they made it to the bell. And Ben Hot was struggling for a cool moment. Then he ended up unlocking Jody's chain, but at a point, his calculations were off, and they ended up timing out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like because Benha and Sarah were working together, they would get it right. But it just comes down to something was adding up on his board, and that's just where they kind of screwed themselves. So I don't know what exactly it was that he couldn't get, but there's more teams that can time out too.
Yes.
So that's his only hope is to pray somebody does worse than he does.
Yeah. And in Heat 2, the frenemies were against each other, and Danny and Ben. Danny said he didn't mind leaving Tori in chains either. Um, but it was just funny seeing Danny and Ben having to work together and having bonding time, quote unquote, one another, to try and like find these flags and get back out to figure out their puzzles. But Ben ended up locking Casey first, and Danny was right behind him with Tori, and that's how that heat went.
Nothing too crazy. They kind of helped each other and just kept it pushing. So it's whatever. It's whatever.
Yeah. And then Kiki and Justine were both good. They got in, got out, got their damsels in distress unlocked. And Emily and Tristan were next. Emily was using yes as a human calculator at one point, because she had asked him all of the equations and he was giving her the answers. And they finished first, and then Tristan finally unlocked Kellyanne, and they were done as well.
Yeah, I'm happy that Yes was able to redeem himself somewhat in this challenge because the last time in the swimming he just looked like a dead fish in water and Emily had to go save him. But now he's able to help her even though he's not in front of it. I appreciate him still helping and trying, to give her the answers so that they can at least have a good timing on their hand.
Yeah. I don't know when you said like how last week when yes needed help, it just reminded me of Cache still getting helped by um what is that man's name? Um I'm forgetting his name from last season on USA.
Girl, that could be anybody. I don't know.
The okay, the Survivor man that was all up of Sarah of
Tyson, Tyson, Tyson.
Tyson. Yeah. That just the visual of her on the back of him when he was swimming, and then yes having to go back, yes having to get help from Emily. I'm like he was looking like cash out there, but like he managed to get it together.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and then Troy and Kaz were next, and they both had to go back down into the tunnel. Like they're the only team that we actually saw have to go back down to reassess the flags. But Troy was able to unlock Amber first, and they got to ring the bell. And Kaz was struggling, real bad, and she timed out. She asked at one point in Jordan, "What is 6 times 7?" He's like 42, and everybody's like, "It's 42. Are you? What's going on?" But you know, they timed out.
Yeah, I mean, maybe she was just under pressure and couldn't think, but it's just at a time like that, you can't have such a small, like a small thing like that, like really get you like shaken. Like that just threw me. I was like, when she said it out loud, I was like, girl, what? Is no way you asking that, bro. But I guess she couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, so like Tristan was able to figure his out, and it's not a UK issue. It's like their math.
Yeah, I guess some people, I don't know. I don't know.
And so our top two teams end up being Sarah and Theo, and Emily and Yes, with a 1 minute difference between both of them. And Emily and Yes end up being our winners. Our slowest teams were Benha and Jody, and Jordan and Kaz, because Kaz didn't get the correct amount of flags. Her and Jordan are the losers for the week.
Congratulations. Finally, they are in there. And I feel like that's what the house has been wanting is Jordan to go in. So it's perfect that he lost because now they have an opportunity to put someone else in there who can be another strong team that they can just try to battle it out in elimination. So yeah, I think 6 times 7 is gonna haunt that girl for a minute because there's no way.
Yeah. And so the USA team ended up having a come to Jesus meeting at one point, and people didn't really want to come together. And Tori said that they should vote, and Jordan and Benha and Darrell and Kiki and Bananas wanted to put in Kellyanne into their plan so that they can get the numbers of their side. And he had Tori go speak to her, and Tori was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll go talk to her." Um, and Tori went to go talk to Kellyanne. Kellyanne heard her out, But she was like, I'm not doing this. My plan is gonna roll through. I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that Kellyanne didn't really take them up on their offer because it was clear that they put her in at the first opportunity they had to or needed to for the past couple of weeks. And since she's won, she's been under the radar. That I mean, that was last week, I think. But at the same time, I feel like she's one of those flex people that can either vote with them, and she's voted with them before. So I felt like that's probably why they were comfortable in asking, saying, "Hey, can we, somebody ask her, to do this so that they can have that swing vote." But what didn't sit right with me is the Darrell and Kiki part, just because the reason we always talk about Darrell not needing to be in an alliance with these people, or like he's always playing the middle, is because, and like he gets to a point where he's the first one to go out of their whole alliance, and that's exactly what happened this week. So it's just like, here we go again with you know the situation with Darrell. And I just felt like when Kellyanne delivered that news to him, he was like, okay. Like, it wasn't as surprising, but I feel like if he ever comes back to do anything else, like, he's still gonna be in that middle kind of purgatory with them. So it's hard to see him being in that alliance with those people, because honestly, it's always gonna be like that. That's just what was hard to see. It's just like, damn, Darrell, you're just middle.
And I feel like right now, like I don't think he's even in an alliance with them per se right now. Like he's rolling with the Aussies and what's ever left of the Aussie group and the misfits, as Bananas called them. And because like when Kellyanne did talk to him, he was like, y'all motherfuckers gonna learn not to mess with me." And he was like, I'm voting whichever way we're doing. I'm sticking to our plan. I'm good. I'm not going in. Like he was adamant about not going in essentially, and he's like, I'm just gonna stick to what we're doing, and I have him noted essentially. So, but I do agree. Like it gets to a point where they are gonna throw him again. Like now that his name is out there, they're gonna put him out there again. So it's just like you you can't go either way with him. Like he has to like fully take a stand at times, but he doesn't want to do that. And I'm like, they're gonna throw you in at the first chance they get, and that's what frustrates me at times with him because he knows like he's at the bottom of their totem pole. I see him to strike first, so that he's good. But he was on the right end of things this week.
Yeah, I'm just glad that Kellyanne was able to just have that honest conversation with him, because if it was the other way around, like if she voted with them, then he definitely would have been thrown in there. And then that's another thing now, having him going against Jordan and Cass in elimination. Like, that's not really what I don't know how well that will go for him.
Yeah. And so we go to nominations, and Danny starts it off because he said he didn't want to cause a ruckus for the team, and he stayed stuck with the vote for Darrell and Kiki and Jody and Benha. All the USA team is on the same page. Kelly and Tristan were next to do their vote, and they voted for Theo and Sarah, and Bananas and Justine. That was just meant for the line drawn even more with people, and Bananas was very shocked that she was like voting for him and not going with what they wanted her to do. I'm like, you can't just try and force Kellyanne's hand. Like, she's not a puppet to you.
No, but they've been back and forth at each other at every time that they've played a season together. So I don't know why he thought it would be so easy for her to be that swing vote for them. Like I said, she voted with them earlier in the season because it was so early on, and she probably felt like, you know what, let's just go with the safest route so I don't stick out like a sore thumb. But at the end of the day, she's realizing like she has to play her game much as everyone else is playing their game. So I'm glad that her and Jody and Benha were able to stick up for themselves and get other people like Daryl and Kiki to vote on their side, because honestly, that's what you got to do in this. Like, you just got to pick them out one by one to figure out how you gonna get to the next step, because you can't, everybody can't come to the final with you. So like,
Yeah.
people got to start going home, and people got to start getting real about how they're gonna decide and vote. long term.
Yeah. And more votes were going towards Theo and Sarah and Bananas and Justine from that group. Um, ba- I'm about to say Basie. Ben and Casey.
Not the nickname. That's a
Well,
terrible
okay,
nickname.
it is. Anyways, don't mind me. Um, Ben and Casey were shell shocked from the stalemate from last week. So they just ended up burning the vote. They voted for Sarah and Theo. And then they voted for Kelly and Tristan. So the final vote ended up being Bananas and Justine and Sarah and Theo. And once Kath saw the vote, how that went, she was freaking out because she didn't want to face Theo and the Nation. Like they had just came to a good terms with one another, and she's like, I don't want to go against him. Like he's my lifeline in this game. Like I'm good. I don't want to go against him. But in reality speaking, she wasn't gonna go against him because Yes and Emily were not gonna pit Sarah in. So she had nothing to really worry about.
Yeah, I don't think she was thinking of that when she saw the name. I think her first initial reaction was like you said, I don't want to go against Theo because that's my ex and we just went through this whole thing. But she really wasn't thinking like Sarah and Emily are cool, so this is like a no-brainer that Bananas and Justine are going in. But like I feel like it was kind of put to the back burner, Sarah and Emily's relationship. So like once the pick happened, it's like, oh yeah, these two have been running around the house hand in hand, making jokes on people and just, having a good time. Of course, Emily's not gonna put Sarah in.
Yeah. So it's like, this is very cut and dry. Like Bananas is going in, and it's gonna be hilarious to see how he does because last time he was in the nation, that man sucks. So it it was gonna be bad for him. Um, and Banana said that this was the shortest band reunion that he's seen with like the USA group coming together, and things just like tore apart real quick. I'm like, this is what you're dealing with. Like, you can only be friendly with people so long in the house and be on the same page. We knew Ben was an outlier in the first place. He wasn't gonna be rolling with y'all for that much time. He's focused on him and Casey. That's it.
Yeah, I think with a lot of the teams individually that were divided already, Danny and Sarah, um, Ben and Casey, like there's like individual splits and games that everyone is playing, and so it's hard for that to continue on. Like I said, at some point, one of these teams are gonna have to figure out who they're gonna vote with to compromise for their partner's sake. And that's what we saw this week where Ben and Casey just decided to choose themselves rather than choose another team to have an alliance with long term. They just chose themselves because what are you gonna do? Like you have to do it at some point. So Ben is not shy from doing whatever the hell he wants to do. So it's not surprising that it was them, to be honest.
Yeah. And we get to party night, and Jody said she felt no shame about the decision to vote for Bananas. Bananas called the other side the little rascals, called them misfits. He was banking on the fact that he was 2-0 against Jordan eliminations, but he didn't want to jinx it. I'm like, what if you say it? You gonna jinx it? Because he felt so confident about it.
Once you knock, isn't it you have to knock on wood not to jinx it? Maybe he didn't do that.
Yeah,
He should maybe should have knocked on his head so that he didn't jinx himself.
yeah, no, because he was like, yeah, like I'm like he was so understanding, like we're good, like I have this record against Jordan, and we're good. We have nothing to worry about. But you have something to worry about because you have been utter trash in nations recently. So this record against Jordan is null and void right now. It's null and void.
You're 45, bro. You're 45. Like, give it up. You gotta hang it up at some point. Like, you gotta hang it up.
Uh, your voice when you said it too, like I know,
I
it's
know,
like
like I kind of lost my voice there, and I was trying to struggle to. I'm like, yeah, 45.
it helped for effect. It helped for effect. But it reminded me that R.I.P. Teddy Ray. He's 36.
You're 36. Oh man.
And you saw a moment of Theo and Kaz finally being friends. Whoopie woo. Congrats to y'all. And we go to the arena and we bring out our losers, and Jordan and Kaz, our nominated players, Sarah and Theo, and Bananas and Justine. And Emily, yes, they voted for Bananas and Justine because obviously her relationship with Sarah holds precedence and they have been working with each other. She's not going to throw Sarah in. So it's time for 7-time champ to go against Jordan. I forget how many times Jordan's won, but
uh,
here we go.
white on white crime. Let's go. Let's do it.
All right. Oh, Jesus. Okay. So they're playing a game called Lock, Stack, and Barrel, and they must replicate a master board with their barrels, a master board of a flag, and that's replicated with the barrels. First team completed and hit their buzzer will win. And this, I feel like this was like that one. I think it was the challenge. It was like the last on the final last season where Bananas and Nani got it wrong. It's similar to that one, I feel like, but it was at the bricks.
Yeah,
So
essentially.
yeah,
It was like 200 bricks that they had.
yeah. But we have more barrels and very different designs on each that they had to do correctly. And Jordan said he was going to be very detail oriented with his strategy. Banana strategy was to really just throw the barrels down on the ground and just go by the designs. Um, and it was pretty neck and neck throughout this whole thing, where they were making strides with a lot of the same designs, getting them up there. It was really Jordan carrying Kaz a bit in this because he was taking the lead on it, and she was just like getting them to him. Um, and at one point, Justine could not find the Navy barrel, and it was like very neck and neck at that time. It was going down to that last barrel because they were trying to do the Navy one, and Jordan and Kaz, I think, were trying to do a different one. And Bananas asked for a check, and it was wrong by a piece. They didn't say what it was. And Jordan needed a dark blue barrel, and Killian yelled. She got on the podium stage on the ground of that and yelled at him. It's this one. Get that. That's the only time I'm gonna say I appreciate the audience because it's against bananas.
Yeah, Psycho Kellyanne came out on that one. The way she bent down on bended knee, boys to men style, and was yelling. I said, girl, she really wanted Bananas out of there, which I can understand. I mean, you voted him in, you had this whole crew of people voting him in. So if he comes back now, that's another target on your back. So I get her yelling for Jordan and Kaz, but it was funny to see her yell like that. And I found it actually more funny that no one was yelling for Bananas and Justine, because most times in eliminations you hear Bananas' voice with whoever side that he's voting for or rooting for. He always is one of the more vocal ones that screams at the top at that little party that they have on the stage. So the fact that no one was helping and no one was yelling, like, where was Danny at? Where was, Sarah at? Where the girls at? Like, where are the girls? Because y'all are standing there and y'all are not saying anything, which I don't mind. I'm not gonna complain because I'm one of the people who say y'all need to just be quiet. But at the same time, I thought it was just funny that no one was like paying attention to what was happening and the fact that they needed that one piece and no one really picked up like, yo, this is it, and they didn't blatantly give them the answer. It's like, yeah,
I love to say that it's karma because he wouldn't have done the same thing. So you get what you get, because once Captain Jordan finished, he looked up and he was like, that wasn't the right sun because it's a smiling sun and not a frowning sun." And Ben knew that because obviously Ben is from Argentina and that's his flag. He ain't say
he
nothing.
he didn't even realize that they literally told him at the end, like, what was it, when they, like, once Jordan and Cass checked and they got it right and they won. They were like still stuck on figuring out like what was the piece that wasn't correct, and once it was pointed out that it was the sun, then they were like, oh man, like, upset that they really weren't focused on that detail. But it is important, and I feel like because Jody and Benha had a lot of people taking them out earlier. I mean, I'm glad that Benha was able to, have that little moment where he was like, yeah, this is perfect. My country got you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was like, when Vance had threw his little fit, I'm like, oh, poor Bronco. Because I'm like, this is what you get. You do this every season to different people, and I'm being a hypocrite with like letting people cheer against him. But he does it every time, and it's just great to see people do it to him because he always do it to other people. So yeah, um, and like you said, Ben, I was like, it's no love lost because bananas put him in every time. So yeah, that was the end of that episode. And it was very pleasing to me because that man needs to actually retire. For real, for real. But I'm really not mad, but sad that we have no more Justine.
Yeah, I feel like Justine definitely, like she said in her exit interview, she could have gave a lot more. She was ready to compete after doing that USA season and getting to the final. And I think she was prepared mentally, physically, all of that to do more, to go, longer than what she did. But honestly, she had a good showing. I just hope next time, if she's in a scenario like this, that she really doesn't rely on someone like Bananas to get her far, because in this particular game, with these people who are coming from all different walks of life and, different shows, everyone's all not in this vacation alliance. So you can't just have that to protect you. So, you know, I I know Justine is coming back, so we'll see her sometime, I guess. But as for Bananas, I mean, this is going to be his second season coming back on the show after having a long hiatus, about to be like a third or fourth. Like, there's two other shows that I know he's actively doing, so it's just like he's just collecting the check at this point. Like, he can't, I guess he's not on SSI as yet, he can't get that, so he just got to keep him coming on the show. Doing this until he gets to that age, and it's just, he'll be there
Do
until
they
they get canceled.
do they even have a retirement plan?
They don't even have insurance. You see Nelson like broke up in the hospital. They don't even have insurance, bro. Like, come on.
Yeah. Okay. And also, with next week, we do see people being sick. Tristan and Amber both weren't feeling well at next week. We see Ben on a stretcher, and Danny and Tori are back at it arguing. And Emily might be a target for Kiki next week as well. And the voiceover was like of Kiki saying she said my name 3 times. So Emily is in hot water officially next week.
Yeah, finally. I feel like she needs to, because it's gone unchecked how she's done Kiki. And yeah, I feel like Kiki, she needs to have this revenge play for her, specifically now that Grant is gone. And she's really the only person out of that two-head alliance that was running that. Definitely, for sure.
Yeah. And so we're going to get into the tweets. This week, it is actually, I renamed it to the roast of the rotten banana because the way that I was cackling after I watched the episode Wednesday and I saw people jumping him on the timeline, I was like, this is glorious. And so we're going to get into some of the tweets from this episode. It's actually a lot, but I'm trying to trim down which ones I pick and choose. So the first one is, how are you feeling? Captain Save a Show. You 0-2 did absolutely nothing on Ride or Dies and got outsmarted and played on this show.
Exactly.
Because
Exactly.
he was so excited to come back and break up whatever was going on with that Vacation Alliance, but he ended up infiltrating it and just was in it, did nothing with it.
Yeah, I mean he basically added on to it and made it even worse because everybody jumped on his bandwagon since he came back. So yeah.
This is the first time Kellyanne has outlasted Bananas in a season together. Love that for her. Give her a tens.
Yes. Yes. Give her her tens or her Prozac, whichever one.
And Danny tweeted, shout out to Kellyanne, Darrell, and Yes, and everyone that banded together to shake things up. And Ben and Casey for making the best move for them. Very smart. I'll give a good applause for that. It was a good
Yeah, I
move.
mean Danny's like watching as we're watching. So, he's seeing some of the conversations that were had behind the scenes in real time with us. And yeah, it's true. I mean, it moves were made and it had to be done. And we know Danny is a seasoned vet at chaos, so he's gonna love anything that's being shaken up.
Yeah. And Yes tweeted, um, Emily and I felt bad taking the first place win from Sarah and Theo, but Kellyanne asked me what I wanted for dinner, and I said bananas. So sad to have Justine in the crossfire, but we had important work to do.
Yeah. I feel bad for Justine, like she was just with the wrong person. But important work is funny because
Yeah. Like, hey, like we have more important matters to get through. Okay, he was like, very. That's a very diplomatic tweet. He was like, I'm glad like I did this, and I stuck to my plan. I'm very honest about it, and I'm sorry, but you had to be kind of crossfire. And the last tweet, I was trying to get back to Kiki's tweet because she did end up watching the show too. I had bookmarked it, but I did not. Hold on, give me one moment. I need to get at least Kiki's tweet in. Um,
yeah, since she did live tweet this week, we have to add her segment of Kiki retweets back in because she is giving us what we ask for, which is quality content.
yes, and so I'm just gonna pick and choose some of the tweets from her this week. She said, not them. I'm allowed to say name. I'm not okay. Not them. I'm not allowed to say name names. Saying Danny is wishy washy though. Beware. Nah, y'all just don't like people who think for themselves.
True, true. I mean, we've seen them act like sheep before. It's nothing new.
Yeah. And she was like, also the little closet chat. Justine not turning on Danny, sis. Get somebody else to do it. Because
Period.
Justine was just there, just
She was
communicating.
there so she don't get fined. Like, I'm just here so I don't get fined. Like, Justine just be minding her business, but she was just partnered with the wrong person, like we keep saying. Like, that was just her only downfall, to be honest.
Yeah. And the last few minutes from her, the way they put my man in a dark hole with his enemy, though, messy. We love it. I wasn't concerned for Danny. Let's just say that.
Why the hell would she be concerned? They're literally filming a show. Like, what is he gonna do in there? Uh, ma'am,
No,
please.
because Tori and Casey were like, I don't know if they're gonna be scrapping down there. I'm like, they're not gonna be scrapping.
Who? Like,
Danny and
let's be for
Ben.
real. Let's be for real. Like, what are we talking about here? It's no way that's happening. Like, none.
Unless it's a hall brawl, but that's it.
But that will be granted because that is something that is required to be physical and having contact with each other, which I'm sure Danny would appreciate, a contact sport. So, but Danny's not stupid to mess up his money or his check or his appearance, and neither is Ben, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, those are the tweets.
Well, it was an interesting week. I mean, like I said, Justine, just pick someone better next time. I'm. It's really back to back that Wes and Bananas are out in back to back weeks. I'm here for it. I love it just because, these two walk around. They've been on the show forever. Like, it's been decades now. And so we need some new blood. And I'm glad that the challenge on Paramount has been bringing some of that with newer people and opportunities for them to shine and get some of these old hags out of there and back into the nursing home where they belong. So I'm glad to keep watching this. I know it's just going to keep getting messier and messier as we continue, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe because the messy queens are gone, it's going to slow down. I have no clue, but I'm interested to see where all this goes in the next coming weeks because we're kind of halfway through the season. So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Do not vote for the challenge for the MTV board. Protect the peace. Vote for somebody else.
Wasn't promoting it anyway, so I I
I'm
wasn't
just
gonna vote.
saying. I know,
Yeah, if you're
but
out there
I'm
and
just
you
saying.
do and you're still one of those people who vote for stuff like that, just don't vote for your local politicians. Don't vote for MTV Awards. It's pointless. But anyway, thank you guys for listening. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can at Dual Alliance Pod. You can follow Megan at Megan Hines. You can follow my page at it's_S5. And you can follow and watch us on YouTube if you would like at Dual Alliance Podcast. We'll be back next week to continue the discussion of the Challenge World Championship on Paramount Plus. Bye, guys.
Bye.